Hi all. In this session, we'll try to understand what is AWS X-ray. So it seems sounds quite different, even in cloud technologies too. So the main word we always remember the word like X-ray means we just go and track the bones, right? So where it is navigating, from where it is going, and whether it is stable or not, like that. So we make use of X-ray to scan how exactly your skeleton is all, how it is look, is it good or not, to look out the condition of it, right? So likewise, even in cloud technologies, we use X-ray to deep track of any request coming to your application and how fast it is responding back to the client. So overall, I can say that the complete transparency or the backend process, how your requests are made, and how long will it take to carry from one API to another, and how the communication is happening in the backend. So if we want to see all those things, we make use of X-ray. So how the X-ray in human bodies help us to recognize the issues. Likewise, even in cloud technologies, we use X-ray to understand the problem and revert back with the proper solution as fast as possible. So for that, we required a technology called X-ray or deep track of request coming and going to the server as well as client respectively. Okay, so for that purpose, we do require the X-ray. So this is the agenda of the session. We'll go and try to understand what is AWS X-ray and why it is used, how exactly it is work, and some advantages. If you are going with X-ray, what are the advantages we can make out, and the example scenario. So fine. So we'll start with the thing. So what is X-ray? So X-ray is a service that helps developer to analyze and debug distributed applications such as those built using microservices or serverless architecture. So this is mainly come into existence of microservice architecture or the serverless architecture. So this is just for the understanding purpose. We'll go and try to see the practical thing. So once we are done with the partial understanding of theoretical one, post that we can go and make out the visual things. So assume that your websites contain three different microservice, and that is from login microservice. It's required to travel from login. That is, the login microservice need to be linked with one server, another database, right, and the API. So why it is required? So the API is making call to database saying that so some values has been admitted and kindly do verify whether it is a valid user or not, like for that purpose, right? So whenever we hit a login button, so in the back end we should see right from where it is going and how fast it is going and how fast it is taking to response back, everything we need to track. So in those scenarios we can make use of AWS X-ray. Okay, so this is used to make your application more reliable and always make sure of availability for consistent use of the user as well as that is the resource without any issues. So only on those case the user or the client will love to use your application. So when there is no much latency and there is no bugs for storing your data or retrieval of your resources, like thing. So to do or to maintain all those things, we need to have the technology called X-ray. So there we can make use of this service. So it provides tool to trace request. So whenever we make a request, how it is traveling from where to where it is traveling, visually we can able to see how an application and its service interacts. That is, when I hit the login button, how my application is interacting with the backend one, and how it is going to interact with the database, and from how it is fetching it back. Everything we can make out and identify performance and bottlenecks or the issues if we have anything. So probably you people have understood the concept of X-ray, why it is necessary required and all, in what scenario it will going to help us the main. Okay. Next is why AWS X-ray is used. Why should we go with it? Already through the base objective of the word, we have already understood why it is very much required in nowadays in the era of competition with the technology. So to gain end-to-end visibility of request across an application. So the X-rays are used from the login button till the person is going to log out. So we can track how fast your request is traveling from one microservice to another microservice through the proxies or through the API things, how exactly it is working, how exactly it is interacting with one other service within the application, and how fast your requests are being processed. Everything we can able to track out. That is why in the backend we can make out or we can see everything visually. Okay, so for that purpose, and if we found any errors or the performance lag, we can easily make out. So since we can see everything visually, so the packet will be moving from one end to the another within the microservices or the within your applications. So we can see where it is taking quite longer time to response and why we can able to rectify the issues, right? And where the so to debug distributed systems where understanding service interactions can be complex. So if we are not going with X-ray and assume that you have signed up, but still while logging, so it is showing that you are not authorized person or your credentials are not valid like that if you got means. So it would be quite complex to rectify the issues, even though if you go and verify the data in your database and as it shows that the data is already exist, but still you could not able to access the application. In that case, so what exactly the things is happening, it's very hard to debug the thing. Okay, so if we have integrated our X-ray, on that case it will be more easier to understand the issue. Okay, so to identify bottlenecks as well as performance issues such as latencies as well as failed request as I just mentioned, right? So that is how we can able to make out the issues quite early to analyze service dependencies and their impact on application services. So whether some services have been gone down due to some maintenance issues or some disaster things. So on that case, we can easily make out so which service is going down and what exactly we can make out to overcome that. Okay, so how does the X-ray service works? So trace request. So initially we can trace all the request. So X-ray tracks request flowing through your application. So whenever there is a user or the clients does any request or any CTA, that is call to action buttons. So by capturing the metadata from each service and the application component, this metadata called trace. That is whatever the movements you are doing inside your application, so everything can be tracked here. And instrumental code, sorry, yes, instrumenting code, that is to collect trace data your instrument your application by using the X-ray SDK which supports multiple language. That is, you need someone to track all this data. So for that you need to integrate the agent in your application. That is segments as well as subsegments. That is segments. So represent the data recorded for single service handling the request. Subsegment means provide more granular data for downstream calls like database queries or external IPs. So this is the main one and where it is going the backend complete backend thing. So down the line how exactly the things are working, how data is flowing, how data is retrieving, everything. And data collection and processing. So once the data is being collected to your server for further processing, So they from segment and sub-segment is sent to X-ray done on a backend process that forwards the data to X-ray. So once any data is retrieved or stored to store the data in your database, any data have been sent or the collected through the segment and sub-segment. Post that, the X-ray daemon in the background, it's keep going to track of all the things and it will forward the logs for understanding of the process and visualization. So we do have the map service which visually represent how different components interact with performance of each and analyzing the insights too. Okay, so now you can just go with extra analyticals and insights to identify anonymous slow service or the error in your application. So this is a post collection of logs, so we can rectify and identify the things. So next is advantages. So probably already we have come across many things, but still we'll go and try to understand even with more words. That is, we already know that intent tracing how exactly it is work with each track within your application, each move whatever you do, and even the background or your backend or the front ending how exactly it is going to interact. Everything can be tracked and service maps. That is visually we can make all the things and performance optimize by looking into the logs as well as any bottlenecks, errors, everything. So that's it will help us to rectify the issues and give the performance optimization even more things and error detection. So quickly highlights error or exceptions, making debug more efficient. So for understanding the error, what exactly is happening, so it will be more helpful for going with X-ray and improve user experience too. So by addressing latency and errors, developers can ensure smoother application performance for end users. Like so, since we'll be going with X-ray, we do have the metrics thing. So there we can make out how your backend transactions are going on, whether it is required any attention by the developer to optimize the things, to minimize the latencies and all. We can go with tracking the things. So that is what they are trying to say here: improved experience, user experience. So since we are going with AWS, obviously it will be easy integration with other AWS services too, and customizable tracing. Allow developers to customize tracing for specific use case. So either we can go with the login use case or the backend process or the data retrieval thing. So we can create how many trace cases we want as per our need, and it will be more cost effective. Using AWS X-Trace can be more efficient for developing and maintaining your own monitoring tool. So instead of going with any other tools or monitoring your application things behavior, so we can go with AWS only. So the cost will be even cheaper compared to other providers. So fine. And now we just go and try to understand the working of it. Okay. So assume that an application contains the three different components, that is your front end, back end, as well as the database. Okay, so front end means your UI thing. So whatever the interaction we do through our web pages and the back end API. So whenever we hit any buttons, so it will be navigated to the certain services or the server using the Lambda and the database store state. So if you are doing with any transaction of data that is storing or retrieving, on that case, the database will be come into exist. So here their agenda is to trace the flow of the request from the front end to the back end and also into the database how it is traveling in my application means if they want to see. So setups to implement X-ray, that is enable. So here we need in Lambda we need to provide the permission as well as we need to link it with the X-ray. that is enable AWS X-ray on the backend, that is Lambda function, add the AWS X-ray SDK or to a Lambda function. So here we need to add. So why it is required to add? So we need someone to track all our things, right? What exactly my application is going with. So for that we need to add the X-ray thing on the backend and enable X-ray on your front end also. So here we need to run X-ray demo on your EC2 instance. So whenever these Lambda functions got triggered automatically, so it will go here into the front end thing and it will ask for the data, how it is traveling and everything. So from it is going to take the data and it will going to display it in your X-ray thing. And enable X-ray in DynamoDB also. So since our main agenda is to track the request, so it is traveling in backend as well as front end, even the database, right? For that we need to have the X-ray to be permitted and role to be updated for interaction between all these three services. So for that we need to give the proper service. Okay, that is the permission. So view trace in AWS X-ray console. So once navigate to AWS X-ray console, select trace to see individual request. So if you want to see everything individually, you can go with trace or view the service map. That is visually how request flows through the front end, back end as well as database. If you want to see the things visually, you can go with the service map, or if you want to track the request individually, they can go with the trace. And the resultant will be like something like this. So if you are going with trace timing, each trace shows the life cycle of a request. So whenever we made any request, so the cycle will travel from taking the request from the end user and it will go to server and it will process the things, it will go into database and storing or the retrieval thing will be back happen and it will acknowledge it back, right? That is the one cycle. Okay, so that is including the time spent. So how long will it take to process that request? Okay, in the front end and in back end also the execution time. That is the server actual problem statement is going to happen, right? So how long will it take? And DynamoDB queries duration also. So each thing can be tracked here. Okay, or if you are going with a visual thing, so a diagram will be shown, that is the front end, that is back end, DynamoDB latencies as error if any for each interaction. So if you found any latencies or error, that will be showed even visually. And insights automatically detects anonymous such as high error rate or the latency. So even this is going to be happen. So now we'll go and try to look into the example. Okay, just log on to your AWS console. So once you logging into AWS, that is the this is the primary console. So initially we do have the separate thing saying like X-ray, but now they have integrated with the primary word called CloudWatch itself. So the both are good to navigate. So either you can directly go and type X-ray in the global search bar, or you can just navigate to CloudWatch also. So probably by we use CloudWatch for collecting the logs and analyzing the problems, right? So the same with the advanced, that is even more will be driving into track your application working, right? So that is why they have integrated under the CloudWatch only. Okay, so either you can just go and type like a X-ray. See here the CloudWatch feature, it will come. So there also you can go with it. Okay, or else you can just go with navigating to CloudWatch. From there also you can go with by selecting the X-ray thing. Okay, so there is some this. Okay, so this is the overall the CloudWatch dashboard. So from there you can just navigate to CloudWatch, that is sorry X-ray trace. Click on the trace. So here the trace will be for tracking the individual thing, right? So if you want to create the trace, okay, so for that you need to set up the X-ray demo. Okay, and you need to link all the things, right? So for learning purpose and understanding, you can just set up the demo app. So either they have the two options. So if you want to go view the sample map when done, means you can just click that. Or if you want to really experience how exactly it is going to work, means you just click this button, that is create sample application with cloud formation. So it will going to get you the whole application setup ready. So we just saw right in the ppt, that is the working how exactly it is going to work. So the same thing it will work. Okay, so we'll go and try to look into that. Okay, just click on the cloud formation, so it will prompt you with the predefined values. Okay, so here is the create stack. So that is built from infrastructure composer or choosing an existing template. It's better to go with the choosing the existing template, since we are not creating anything from scratch. Or if you have your own application, you can just go with the infrastructure composer, or else you can just go with the existing. Sorry, so the existing in the sense you will be having the predefined template, or if you want to create the template visually, you can go with it also, like this. Okay, so as of now we'll be going with the existing template, and here they specify the source where your application is, and from where it is to be taken and configured. So here they have taken from the AWS X-ray that is scorekeeper apply, that is app.yaml, and here is the stack we taken, and provide the name of the X-ray or the name of your stack, and is the maximum size. So default is 1, and you can go with the maximum of, I think so it will go with as many as you can, but as of now we'll go with the number of instance will restrict to 1. Okay, auto assign public IP is it is going to inherit the things. So backend things and the configure data volume, everything keep it as it is, and the size of your instance and elastic kind of the storage you will be using, and the name of the cluster, everything, and the processor thing. Okay, and just check and verify if you want to modify the things and all. Just go with it, and if all done, just click on next. And if you have already created the database, you can, sorry, permission thing or the role, IAM role, you can just click here and select. And if you do not have, just leave it as it is, and stack failure option always roll back all the stacks resources. If something was failed during the execution, it is not yet completed fully, means it will roll back to initial one. Okay, and the delete newly created resource during the rollback. So delete all the newly recreated resource. So we'll delete, so that it will help you to go with seamless creation, or else it will prompt you with the things are already exist, kindly revisit and check, that is verify the things, like that it will prompt you. Okay, suppose that just acknowledge here for giving the proper privileges for creating the IAM role based on the requirement for more interaction between the AWS services from the X-ray. So for that we need to provide the IAM role permissions. So it's necessarily required to provide. Or if you have already created, or if you own the application, and on that case you will be knowing that what are all the resources you have used and you have linked, so that you can just create the IAM role saying X-ray, as well as give the proper permissions, what are the services you have used, go and integrate that. Okay, create next and review it and submit. So this will going to create all the resources. Okay, so that is, it will going to create ECS internet gateway, that is SNS notification topic, That is, here is the DynamoDB EC2 IAM role SNS thing EC2. I think so. Now we'll go and look into that. Okay. So we saw one is EC2. Okay, we'll create a new tab itself. EC2, we saw Lambda, and we integrated the code from S3. And what else? SNS. Okay, next is DynamoDB. Okay, so what else? We saw DynamoDB and VPC. See here, instance. Look here, one EC2 instance I have previously terminated. Still, it is not yet created. The new one, it will take some time. Okay, we'll come back later and we'll select the launch template. So what are the things? You can just make out the resources, okay, from here, and you can just go there and check. So what are the resources have been created? See here. So Jan 6, 2025, it was what one. And what else? The load balancer. See, already the load balancer I have created it, and already the lambda function got created 18 seconds back, and it has linked here. So there we saw like in the configuration we need to link X-ray, right? Monitoring and operation tools. See here. So since we have not started anything, so it is showing like this. Next is S3 bucket. Still the creation is under progress, and SNS topic. See here, one here is score keep notification. We will come into table and we can see the table have been created. See, so the things are provision. Okay, and next is VPC. So we do have one is default VPC, another one is created what X-ray sample. Okay, so now we'll come back and still the creation is in progress. We'll wait for a minute. So fine, now the creation has been created completely. Okay, see, so load balancer was created. C1 is running, that is your front end thing, and launch template. Okay, the template have already exist, and we need to see the target group. So that is also exist already, and the load balancer. So we'll try to access the application through the load balancer. Okay. So before that, we'll try to split the thing. Fine. Okay. So now we can able to successfully access the thing. So here they have provided the thing and session has been created. We'll hit the create button. Okay. So now the session has been created. Okay. So before we go in and we'll try to look here. Okay. So interest now, see here. So previously 5 minutes once again it was timestamped and 2 minutes it take to respond to things. So the status code is 200, that is success. So you can just go inside that and you can track the details. So from client, so that is scorekeeper, that is from front end, we have created the new session. That's it, we have done. Right now we'll create the play thing, and the rule is tic tac toe. Okay, now again we'll go and refresh the things. Now these many things have been created in the backend. So the status code is okay and permanent is taken like this, and if we play hit, we'll play. Okay, yeah. So X wins. Okay, now we'll go back to CloudWatch and we'll trace the latest one. See, so from client, it went to, that is your front end, that is your EC2 instance or the container. So from here initially we have created the session, and from there we have stored the things in data, and from there we have played the game. Okay, so this is how your things is going to work. Resource amount thing. Okay, see here the post request has happening. So here the get request. So from where all it is going we can see, or else you can just come back and try to go with the trace map. So altogether you can make out here. Okay, so these are all the things, and there was you need to there you may required to provide the notification. So I did not give any notification there. I just skipped it. Okay, just ignore that. Okay, so here is the matrix. So how your request is moving, everything. So we'll again come back, and here is they have provided the options. Okay, So if you want to view the trace for this game, you just click there and it will get navigate to AWS console. That is X-ray thing. So what we have just looking into, right, the same. See here. So what kind of request is made in, and what is the status code or the response time, the duration of the process, everything we can see. So if we found anything lag in or back in performance, so the status code as well will be different, and on that time we will be get notified and we need to look into the things. Okay, so this is how it will going to help you with watching your application activity and help us to keep the application running even more smooth. Okay, so this is all about the AWS X-ray, how exactly it is going to work and all. So if you have your own application, just go and deploy the things in your EC2 instance and link run the thing. That is you set up the Lambda for the X-ray configuration thing. Okay, so why it is necessary to require, that is why is we two people advise you people to go and create the resource using the cloud formation means, so it will be quite easier for destroy also. So since we have created the stack here, if you just go and click the delete button, so automatically the resource which I have created under these stacks will going to delete without any retention things. Okay, so automatically the deletion will going to happen. So just go back and cross verify whether the deletion has happened or not. Once the status has updated to delete completed. Okay, so thank you for watching this, and if you have any queries kindly drop the message and we'll get back to you. Thank you.